Hey, everybody, it's Greg again. It's another edition of Unbreakable the Podcast, and it is Monday, January the 12th. Wah, 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 wah. The Eagles lose. The Eagles lose. They're out of the playoffs. Their championship reign is over. Oh, no. We're going to talk Eagles today. A little bit of Phillies at the but mostly we're going to rant. We're going to break down this Eagles loss to the 49ers and what went wrong. What went wrong? All right, well, let's get right to it. First of all, you know what? It is really, really hard to repeat as Super Bowl champions. Now we know. Now we see. Now we see how hard it is to repeat, not only Super Bowl, in any sports team. It is hard to repeat as a champion. Why? Because once you win it once, maybe you lose a little hunger. And now maybe you're not as hungry the second time. Maybe you don't want it as big. Maybe you get a little fat and sassy too. You know, all this rubber chicken on the banquet circuit, all doing all these commercials and everything. Maybe you get a little hoity-toity and you say, you know what? We won it once. We don't really have to win it again. It would be nice. It would be nice. But, we won it once. We got our rings. We got our championship banners. Do I really need to do another set of sit-ups? No, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to sit on the couch and have some gummy bears. Some Fritos. So, and not only that, we see Super Bowl champions, World Series champions, they've got the bullseye on back. These other teams, even though they might be having a really lousy season, they gear up to play the champs. Everybody wants to beat the champs. The schedule is tougher. You win the Super Bowl, you get a tougher schedule. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that go into the reason why we don't see too many teams win repeat championships. Now, give credit where credit is due. You got to say those Kansas City Chiefs won 2 in a row. Give them a credit because it's really hard to do. When have we last seen a baseball team? Well, we just saw it. As much as I hate to do it, give the Los Angeles Dodgers credit. They won back-to-back World Series titles that are going to be going for 3 in a row. If they win the World Series this year, you got to take your hat off to the Los Angeles Dodgers if you're wearing a hat. If you're not, take your shoes off. I don't know. What the heck? But what I'm saying is it's so hard for them. So give these teams credit when they do it. So it's really tough. But that's no excuse. No excuse at all. It can be done. It has been done. The Eagles just didn't do it. And it's hard to believe that, and listen, look at it this way. The 2 teams who were in the Super Bowl last year, Kansas City and Philadelphia. Kansas City didn't even make the freaking playoffs. Philadelphia got bumped out in the first round, the wild card round. So it's really tough to get back there, too. When you get there, you have to savor it. You have to appreciate it. We were the king of the hill. I mean, technically, the Eagles are still Super Bowl champions until we crown another champion. But, yeah, they're out. You know what? You got to give the 49ers some credit, too. They came into Philadelphia 6-point underdogs. The line came out. Eagles favored by 2.5 last Sunday. It kept going up all during the week. First to 3, then to 4, then to 4.5, then to 5, then to 5.5. And it closed yesterday before kickoff. Eagles -6. So even Las Vegas was fooled, because everybody was putting their money on the Eagles. And the public is usually wrong. And the public's been wrong when they bet these teams this year. Go the other way. You know, but you got to give the 49ers credit. They came in a banged up team. Their secondary is a mess. Their linebackers, do they have any linebackers? And then yesterday they lose George Kittle to a season-ending Achilles injury. He tore his Achilles, and so they were out. They were out with Kittle for most of the game. Give them credit. Here's where the coaching really takes over. Shanahan outcoached Sirianni. There's no question about it. He knew he was shorthanded, even more so after George Kittle got hurt. And he was able to make adjustments and scheme. And he flat out outcoached Dick Sirianni. And his assistant coaches outcoached Sirianni's assistant coaches. We're going to talk about Kevin Petore in a second here. But give the 49ers credit. As much as they do it, they came into Philly and they got revenge because they lost that game a couple years ago. They came into Philly and they lost all their quarterbacks, and they ended up playing Christian McCaffrey at quarterback at the end of that game. Do you remember that? Well, 49ers came back and got their revenge yesterday. And hey, you know what? You got to hand it to them because they made the plays. The Eagles did it. They outcoached the Eagles coaches, and that's the way it went. So speaking of Kevin Petore, hopefully by the time you listen to this podcast, they will have fired it into the sun. Kevin Petore, come on. I get it. The guys who were saying, oh, don't blame the coaches, you got it. The players make the plays. Yes, but the coaches are the ones who put the players in those situations. That last play, we watching that? The last drive was a microcosm of the Eagles' entire season. Eagles drive down the field, 3 timeouts, still in their pocket, get to around the 20-yard line. They're stopped. Jalen Hurts tries to scramble in first down, loses a yard, throws the ball away on second down, which is stupid because you only have so many downs. You have to get a first down. Third down, they don't nothing. Fourth down, they call a time. Here's what gets me. Now I'm getting they go to the sidelines. Petore was there. Jalen Hurts is there. Sirianni comes over and rambles over there. What could I put in? It makes a few words and whatever these brain trust of the Eagles come up with, they come up with this stupid play where Hurts is throwing the Dallas Goedert over the middle. 3 49er defenders are there with him. 3, not 1, 3. And of course, Goedert can't make the play. Game over, season over. Who the hell called that play? Was it Kevin Petore? When did Jalen Hurts say, oh, well, that's okay? Did Sirianni throw in his 2 cents? Nick Sirianni's the head coach. He's supposed to be overseeing this whole thing. He's got his buddy there, his little buddy, Kevin Petore. Oh, Kevin, you do calling. You make the call. You're the offensive coordinator. I don't want any parts of it. And they come out with this half-assed play, right? And it stinks. It's a rudiment. That's what all these analysts are saying afterwards. It's a simple play. The 49ers, it was like the 49ers were playing chess and the Eagles were playing checkers. That's how it was with these coaches. It seemed like everything Kevin Petore was dialing up was simple. You got the 49ers doing trick plays and scoring on Eagles, right? Including their last touchdown, the pass to Christian McCaffrey in the end zone, was a as far as these reviewers say, was like an unusual play. So I don't get it. These evil coaches. It's $1 billion organization, and then let Sirianni pick his buddy as offensive coordinator. Come on. Usually Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, when they need a coach, they have interviews. They take a lot of interviews. They sit down with these guys. They pick their brains for a couple years. And then they make their decision. But they let this one of the Nick Sirianni. There was no other candidates. Nick Sirianni says, "Oh, my buddy Kevin Petula can do this job." Well, no, he couldn't. No adjustments after halftime. That's why you saw the Eagles having trouble in the second half. Every single freaking game, the Eagles have trouble in the second half. Why? Because a lack of adjustments. The other teams making adjustments were not. We're not. That's your answer for why the Eagles were worse in the second half than in the first half. Because the offense was not making the adjustments that they needed to make. Kevin Abdullah's got to go. And he's got to go soon, because you fire people the day after you are eliminated, because that gives you more time to begin your search for new people. There are still a lot of people out there. Stefanski, Harbaugh, there's a lot of people out there that the Eagles can hire as the next offensive coordinator. But you got to fire this guy so you can begin the search immediately. So hopefully by the time you listen to this show, they have fired his ass into the sea. Goodbye, Kevin Petula. It is for anybody to do their job. Or we're talking about this guy probably has a wife and kids. But you know what? If he can't do the job, he can't do the job. He'll hook on with another organization if he doesn't stay with the Eagles in some other capacity. But he just can't do the offensive coordinator job. He had all season to get better, and he never got better. All right, so that brings us to Nick Sirianni. Well, the Eagles are going to fire Nick Sirianni. He just won the Super Bowl. He's been to 2 Super Bowls on this. So they're not going to fire Nick Sirianni. They just gave him an extension to his contract. So there are all those people out there who on radio shows. Don't listen to them. They're not going to fire Nick Sirianni unless he is stupid enough to go head to head with the front office. And he might give them problems if they try to fire his little buddy, Kevin Petula. Well, you know what? Nick Sirianni ought to be genuflecting before Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie and say, "Yes, Mr. Lurie, yes, Mr. Lurie, yes, Mr. Lurie, you're right. I shouldn't have hired him. I'm sorry. You do all the hiring from now on. I'll coach the guys. I'll be the game day guy. I'll put them through training camp and practice. I'll do that. You guys pick the players. You guys pick the coaches, and just let me do what I do, okay? And I'll never get involved again in trying to pick coaches." That's what they have to do. Oh, my God. So Nick Sirianni, obviously, he's been a good coach, but he was outcoached yesterday. I mean, when he's up against somebody like Kyle Shanahan, who's a brilliant, especially a brilliant offensive-minded coach, we saw it happen. And what was this thing on the sidelines? I mean, A.J. Brown yelling at each other. Sirianni says, "I just wanted to get him off the field." I don't know. There's something there. We're going to talk about A.J. Brown in a minute, but there's something there. You don't want this circus going on the sidelines when you're trying to win a playoff game. I'm sure Mr. Lurie was sitting in his box there fuming. There were flames coming out of his head. I'm sure he didn't like that. I mean, what the hell is going on? What's this drama on the sideline? You don't need this drama. Well, you know what? Maybe this is what Nick Sirianni needed, a little kick in the ass to say, hey, get off your high horse, okay? Maybe you need to start working the guys a little bit tougher in training camp. Maybe you're cutting some corners here and there with guys. But, nobody's job is safe. I mean, look at Doug Peterson. He won a Super Bowl, and then the Eagles showed him the door the day. So Nick Sirianni, you know what? Get off your high horse and get back to what you were doing before. Maybe you need to be a little tougher with these guys, huh? Maybe you need to work them a little harder in training camp. Maybe you need to put the hammer down, because if you don't put the hammer down, the hammer's going to be on your head, Nick Sirianni. Remember that. You haven't even felt my wrath yet either. I'll come into the locker room and I'll start knocking heads, wheelchair or no wheelchair. All right, let's talk about AJ. Yeah. I've been a big AJ Brown fan for a long time. He's a stud. He's an animal. I mean, they got him from Tennessee, and they paid a handsome price. First round draft pick, they paid him a lot of money. I've been an AJ Brown fan. I've been saying, throw the ball to AJ Brown, target him at least 15 times a game. Maybe he'll catch 10 catches, and maybe he'll give you 150 yards or more. He's an animal. Throw him the ball. I have been after the Eagles to use AJ Brown more. Use him. You got him, use him. But now I am anti-AJ Brown. Why? Well, first of all, AJ Brown, if you're going to bitch and moan all the time, I don't get the ball, throw me the ball, and you're going to be pouty and not talk to the reporters after the game, and you're sitting there with your little book, reading your book, and moated. Well, if you're going to do that, then you better show up on game day, especially during the playoffs, and you better catch the freaking ball. He had 3 drops yesterday, and on the one where he was lunging to the sidelines, he could have laid out. Why didn't he lay out for that ball? He just reached for it, but he didn't lay out. It hit him in the hands. There's something about this guy. That's why he wasn't good in Tennessee. Ask yourself, why was this stud receiver? And he is a stud. Why did Tennessee want to trade him? Why? There's always got to be a reason. When you hear about trades, things like that, teams letting guys go in free agency, the first question you should ask is why? Why did they do this? Why did Tennessee let him go? Why did they trade him? Obviously, there was reasons. And we're seeing it now. I mean, maybe for the first couple of years, AJ Brown was on his good behavior. But now it's coming out. And he's bitching and he's moaning. And now it's one thing if he's got a feud with Jalen Hurts because Hurts won't throw him the ball. That's one thing. But when you start knocking heads with the coaches, you're not going to be around for long. I mean, look at Nick Castellanos on the Phillies. He's still with the Phillies. The Phillies are really putting him through hell, because he's dangling out there, Nick Castellanos. Am I going to get traded, or am I going to get released? Where am I going to go? Yeah, you're going to go. There's no question about that. It's just when and where. That's what's going to happen to AJ Brown. And I would be surprised if the Eagles trade him this offseason so they can get something for him while they still can. Can they get a first-round draft pick? I don't think so. I mean, who wants all this baggage? He's a great wide receiver, but who wants all this drama? Who wants all this baggage that goes with AJ Brown? I don't want that. So it's just a bad look. It's things you don't need. You don't need on the team. I mean, the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year in spite of AJ Brown. He was a contributor, as all the players were last year, to winning the Super Bowl. But it's not like A.J. Brown himself got you. He did it. So I'm just thinking his time has come. Now, if the Eagles if they do trade A.J. Brown, they better get a replacement. Because other than Devontae Smith, they have nothing. Nothing. Johan Dotson, I don't care, has been a big disappointment. They got him from Washington. Big disappointment. And these rookies, Cooper or whatever, they're good. Come on. Eagles have a lot of needs. We were talking about that. A lot of needs. Good thing the Eagles have extra draft picks this spring. And one of the things they're going to have to address, whether it be through the draft or free agency, is another wide receiver. You have to have weapons for June. You have to, we've gone through this before. You have to have weapons. Okay, you had the weapons. You got to get younger at the wide receiver position. You need a stud wide receiver. You got to pick somebody coming out of college like Justin Jefferson when Howie Roseman screwed that up. So I don't know. I just think the Eagles have had it up to here with A.J. Brown. I think probably for his own sake and for our sake as fans and the Eagles' sake, it's probably the best thing to part ways. Go into next season without all that drama. I'm sure A.J. Brown, he'll be motivated when he goes to his next team. Oh, he'll be motivated. God forbid he comes back and haunts the Eagles, right? He'll be like the guy we T.O. coming back after he went to the Cowboys. That was the big thing. I was at that game. The game that T.O. came back and played the Eagles at the link. That's what it's going to be like when you get rid of A.J. Brown. But you got to do. Because is A.J. Brown, is he going to change? I don't think so. A.J. Brown is what he is. He is not going to change. Yeah, he's fine if you throw him the ball and he gets his touchdown catch and he catches the ball and he's fine and he stops pouting like a baby. He's fine. But you know what? You could put up with his crap and his crying and his bitching and moaning. You could put up with that if he performs on the field. He's not even performing on the field. Playoff game and he 3 drops. Get with it. All right, Jalen Hurts. What has happened to Jalen Hurts? He did not have a good season either. Come on. Jalen Hurts fans out there, you got it. At one time, he had earlier in the season 15 touchdown passes, 1 interception. He went downhill the second part of the year. He refused to run the ball. What the hell's wrong with him? When he does run the ball, the Eagles' offense is so much better because he gives the defense another thing to worry about. They can't sell out on Barkley. They got to contain because if Jalen Hurts, if there's a threat of him running, that's another thing for the defense to worry about. And if for some reason he stopped running, does he have a physical problem? Or his knees, his back hurt, man? Why did he stop running? Was that the offensive coordinator's request? Don't run as much? Or was that Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts, if you're going to stop running the ball, then why the hell are you on this team? If we want a drop back pocket passer, we can do better than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is okay as a passer, but he's not what you would call a pure passer. He's no Dan Marino. I mean, come on. If you wanted a pure passer, Tanner McKee is more of a pure passer than Jalen Hurts. The difference between Tanner McKee and Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts can run the ball. But if he refuses to do that, or if the Eagles refuse to call running plays for Jalen Hurts, then he's strictly a passer. And if he's strictly a passer, you could get better quarterbacks for passers. I don't know. The thing about Jalen Hurts, too, you can't get rid of him either. I mean, he won you a Super Bowl last year. But do we really need the pouty Jalen Hurts sitting on the bench, pouting and being by himself and not talking to anybody? Do we really need that? Is that being a leader? No. I think Jalen Hurts, he said himself at the press conference yesterday, he has a lot to grow. He can get a lot better. He may have been the MVP of the Super Bowl last year. No power to him. He played great Super Bowl. But he's not, he didn't, he went down a peg this year. Even the Jalen Hurts fans out there have to admit that. He wasn't as good this year. And a lot of times, your team is going to go as far as your quarterback is going to take you. But then Jalen Hurts just wasn't good. And look at yesterday, when push came to shove, and the Eagles needed that first down at the end of the game. They needed a touchdown to win the freaking game, to go on in the playoffs, to go to Chicago next week. Jalen Hurts failed, as the rest of the team did. But Jalen Hurts failed. So you can't get rid of him. You gotta hope you got Tanner McKee is back up again next year. And Jalen Hurts just has to get better. He just has to commit himself and work a little harder, like all the players and all the coaches have to do to get back to where he was. That's the bottom line. Although, hear me out. Don't be, look at what happened to Carson Wentz. Where Carson Wentz was the so-called franchise quarterback in this team. And all of a sudden, the Eagles drafted Wentz in the second round. That sends a message to Carson Wentz. And before you know it, Carson Wentz is not doing it. He's no longer the franchise quarterback. Jalen Hurts better be careful. Contract or no contract. If the Eagles don't like you, if you fall out of favor, Howie Roseman is not, to his credit, he's not afraid to take that chance. He traded Carson Wentz and got a bunch of first-round draft picks. Who's to say he can't do the same thing with Jalen Hurts, right? I'm not saying he should, and I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying it's possible. Anything's possible now. You lose, everything's on the table. All right, Lane Johnson. So we know Lane Johnson was supposed to play this week. Apparently, he was practicing during the week, ended up before the game, not playing. When we see the difference between Lane Johnson, how the Eagles' offense is, and when Lane Johnson isn't. And it's a big difference in record. You just can't, they're not the same. They're not the same. You can't run the ball as well. But, let's go back. Even when Lane Johnson was playing, this offense wasn't jiving like it was last year. It goes back to the coaches. It goes back to Jalen Hurts. But Lane Johnson is a big plus when he was playing. Let's hope now Lane Johnson has a little more time to recuperate from his Lisfranc foot injury. And hopefully he's going to come to training camp next year and he's going to be healthy. But here's something the Eagles need to keep in mind. They need to draft his replacement. They need to draft a really good tackle, high in the draft, and they need to start grooming that person. Or if they don't draft one, you need to trade for one because Lane Johnson isn't going to be around forever. And he's getting older. and the injuries are piling up. And he's still a great player, even despite the injuries and despite the fact that he's getting older. But there is going to come a day, just like Jason Kelsey, when Lane Johnson just can't do it anymore. Who are you going to put in there? It's time for the Eagles to start addressing that. They have a bunch of draft picks, even if they need to move up in the draft. If there is that tackle that they have an eye on, they got to go get him. I would even say tackle might be one of their most pressing priorities then, because think about it this way. Lane Johnson may come back next year fully healthy and give you another sprint season, Pro Bowl season. Sooner or later, now, he is not going to be able to play, and you need to fill in. And you need a guy who's better than Cam Jerkins, who filled in, who replaced Jason Kelsey. Obviously, nobody's double Jason Kelsey. We know that. Jason Kelsey was one of the greatest players in Eagles history. Jason Kelsey was one of the best centers in NFL history. We see what it's like when Jason Kelsey's not around. Cam Jerkins, he was okay last year. But we're seeing now he's locked off to there's no Jason Kelsey. So what I'm saying is that the Eagles need to prepare. They need to get a really good tackle. Let him work with Lane Johnson. Let Lane Johnson groom his replacement, knowing that this is his replacement in another area too. And the Eagles really need to be laser focused on finding someone that they need a lot of help with the offensive line. They need help everywhere. This team is without depth. I mean, look what happened when the last game, regular season game against the Washington Commanders, and Nick Sirianni decided to rest all his starters, even though he could have played the starters. And as it turned out, Eagles would have got the number 2 seed instead of the number 3 seed. And they wouldn't have played San Francisco. He was like, what would have, could have, should have. You could play that game. But what that game showed, though, was that by playing all the backups, especially in the secondary, the Eagles secondary, their backup players stink. They stink. Kelly, Ringo, and all these other guys, Bennett, they stink. So Howie Roseman, he needs to put his nose to the grindstone and shit. And I trust Howie. He needs to find the secondary is good. Cooper DeJean, we saw Quincy on Mitchell this week. Here's 2 passes, which should have set up the Eagles for scores. Gave them short fields, and the Eagles couldn't take advantage of it. Eagles beat the 49ers in turnovers yesterday, and they still couldn't win for the game. Home game, your home crowd, now I'm getting worked up. Playoff game, you had a week of rest. 49ers are beat up. They got beat up last week from the Seahawks, who were going to be playing next week. And you couldn't do that. You couldn't beat them. You had short fields, courtesy of Mitchell, and you couldn't score. Anyway, what I'm saying is the Eagles need help all over. They need depth. And that's the one thing about this team, which we knew about coming into the year. And as the year progressed, the Eagles, they weren't the same team because they were as deep as they were last year. Certainly, one of the byproducts of winning a Super Bowl is you're going to lose some players. Other teams are going to want those players because those players are good. Same way with the coaches. You're going to lose some coaches off of coaching staff because Super Bowl coaches, other teams want those coaches. So Howie needs, and I trust now, in Howie we trust. But Howie needs to work his magic again. Howie needs to hit all these draft picks this year. Another big draft. He needs to make the right free agent calls. And whatever trades he makes, he needs to make good trades. Because the Eagles won the division, to their credit, they did. And there's really no competition in that division right now. Washington went downhill. The Giants are good. Dallas, who knows about Dallas? Eagles are kind of lucky. They're a division that sucks. But there's going to come a time when there's going to be a team or two in the division that are going to start getting better. So while the Eagles are head and shoulders above these other teams, they need to stay head and shoulders above these other teams. And how they do that is turnover. They need to make good decisions in free agency. They need to draft well. That's Howie Roseman. He needs to get back with it. Come on, Howie. But we're talking about draft and making good decisions. One of the unexpected areas that the Eagles may need to look this offseason is kicker. I mean, do you trust Jake Elliott anymore? He missed an extra point yesterday, which threw everything out of whack. All through the game, you were thinking, well, if Jake Elliott would have made that extra point, sure, it was windy yesterday. But the 49ers kicker didn't seem to have too much of a problem, other than missing an extra point himself toward the end of the game. But Jake Elliott, what's wrong with Jake Elliott? Yeah, he's getting a little hurt, and that's me all. I can't do things I used to do. I used to know what his one was. I don't know. Is that a dog barking outside of the room? I guess. What the Eagles need to do is bring in some competition in training camp. If they have room, bring in some legitimate kickers in training camp and push Jake Elliott a little bit. Okay? Jake Elliott, if you can't do it anymore, fine. You had a great career as a number, right up there with David Gomes and some of the other great kickers. But if you're getting older, you can't do it. Can't do it. The Eagles may need to look in college, see if there's a good college kicker out there. Maybe to draft in the 7th round. If not, then you pick them up as an undrafted free agent. But you gotta focus on that, because you can't go in the next season with Jake Elliott being a liability. It's going to come back and bite you. So all of a sudden now, you have to worry about kicker. The other thing I didn't like yesterday, among a lot of things I didn't like yesterday, was it seemed like the Eagles were playing with a little bit of lackadaisical. That there was no urgency, no fire. Even Tom Brady, who I gotta admit is getting better as being an analyst. When he first started, I didn't care for him. I really didn't care for him. I was saying, bring back Greg Olsen. Well, I still like Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen called the game. He called the Rams game, that's right. The Rams almost got beat by the Panthers on Saturday. He was calling that game. I like Greg Olsen. But Tom Brady, he just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But he's getting better. He's a lot better than Tony Romo. Oh, God, Tony Romo. He's a lot better than the other guy who won Sunday night, Chris, whatever. We don't like him. But Tom Brady called a good game yesterday. And he made a good point. He said, Jalen Hurts gets into a rhythm throwing the ball. Completion. And, Eagles, they're on a roll, especially that last drive. Don't stop it. maybe go no huddle. Get up to the line quick before the 49ers know it. And you snap the ball. Keep that flowing. Keep it flowing, right? Don't huddle up. Don't call time out there. Just get up to the line. Sometimes you gotta do the no huddle to kind of shake things up a little bit, to put a little pep in your step. So Tom Brady was right yesterday. The Eagles see the little, do we really want to do this? We already want to see. Do we really want to do this? That's a not an understanding. But during the season, they did. There were times they didn't seem as urgent as that thought they. It seemed like even the coaches were like, yeah, our talent will win in the end. We've got better players than them. We don't have to really be urgent about things. We'll win in the end. Trust us. Trust us. We'll win. Really. So I see Brady's point. I see the times yesterday where the Eagles could have been a little bit more peppy, They said, all right, we have a chance of losing this game. Let's put our foot on the gas. We don't want to pull this out last minute, just in case we can't do it. Let's check. Yeah, by rights, what? The Eagles should have steamrolled that team. That team came in all beat up yesterday. That team came in after getting their asses kicked by Seattle the week before. They had to fly across the country. They had to play in our weather conditions before our fans with the wind and all that stuff going on. And the 49ers coming here. And the Eagles should have steamrolled them. Stop with all the excuses. The Eagles, they may not tell you this on the radio. They may not say this on TV. But the Eagles should have killed that team yesterday. That's why they were 6-point favorites, my friends. The Eagles should have gotten them and stomped on them from the get-go. What is this? Nick Sirianni wins the coin toss and he defers to the 49ers. And they take the ball down and they score a touchdown right away. Right away, that takes the wind out of your sails a little bit. Right away, the crowd is like, whoa. And then the Eagles go down and score a touchdown, but their kicker misses the extra point. That takes a lot out of you. It takes some of the enthusiasm out of you, some of the momentum. You lose a little bit. By rights, Eagles, they got in a box. Sirianni says, with the coin toss, we're going to take the ball, we're going to jam it down their throats, we're going to get ahead, we're going to make the 49ers play from behind. And all we got to do is get ahead and maybe it'll give. George Kittle tears his Achilles, and what if the Eagles are ahead 20-7? That makes it harder for the 49ers to come back now, doesn't it? That's what is bad about yesterday. Knowing that the Eagles were the better team. But you really can't say that because the 49ers won the game. But the Eagles were healthier. They had all their ducks in a row. They had a week of rest. The starters had a week of rest. Eagles should have went in there and steamrolled them. That's what makes it bad. They should have did. All right, my last point before I go. Hopefully this is going to be a good day because the Phillies are meeting with Bo Bichette this afternoon. We need some good news. If the Phillies sign freaking Bo Bichette and Phillies, don't let him leave town. Give him some cheesesteaks or something. With or without. Don't let him leave town unless he's signed to a contract. Because if he leaves town without a contract, there's a chance he's going to sign somebody else. If you really want him and you want them, you're bringing them into town for a meeting, you're going to court and wine and dine them. Well, sign them. We need some good news. Phillies signed Bichette today. It's going to help. Knowing that baseball season is on the horizon, pitchers and catchers report about. We'll talk more about Bichette as the week goes on. The last thing I gotta say is now that the Eagles are officially out and done, it's still hard to believe. Who am I rooting for? I'm rooting for the Buffalo Bills. You know why? Because the Buffalo Bills and their fans, Bills Mafia, deserve a Super Bowl. They deserve it. The Rams have been there, done that. 49ers, been there, done that. Seahawks have even been there. They didn't win because Pete Carroll screwed up. But they've been there, done that. Look at the other teams here. New England, oh God. New England wins again. Even without Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I'm about to gag you with a spoon. I'm about to throw up on my keyboard. New England. Thank God the Chiefs won there. Anyway, I'm for Buffalo. Those poor Buffalo, they have never won a Super Bowl. Think about those fans up there, how much they've endured over the years. All that snow and cold. They're up there. They're shoveling the stadium in. Yeah, they're getting paid $20 an hour and they're getting lunch. But you know what? They're doing it. Hey, they're up there. They've been to four Super Bowls in a row they lost. Losers back in the 90s. I mean, how bad is that? To go to 4 straight Super Bowls, which is great, and lose them. Hello. So I'm for Buffalo. I'm for Josh Allen. I'm for the Bills. I'm for the fans up there. And I want Buffalo to win the Super Bowl this year. Damn it. I want the Bills to win. And that's who I'm rooting for. Will they win? I don't know. I think they're going to beat the Broncos this week in Denver. And then they're probably going to play the Patriots again in a rematch. This one in New England. And I'm for the Bills. I don't care who the NFC representative is. Not that the Eagles are in. I don't care. I don't care. Yes, am I better? Yes. All right, well, that wraps it up. I've had enough. I'm going to take my blood pressure pill. And I'll be back again later in the week. We'll get you more about the Eagles. You know, some Eagles fans won't be able to be able. They won't be able to don't want to jump off the bridge. No, but get over it. The Eagles have had bad times just before. They don't have bad times again. You got to trust that Howie Roseman is going to do what it takes to get the team back up to championship level. You got to hope for the best. And you got to support them. Good times and bad, right? The bad times make the good times even sweeter. That's the way you got to look at it. Anyway, everybody, have a good day, great week. Let's go Phillies. Let's go Flyers. And Phillies signed Bichette for us. You'll have my wrath next. You don't want that, trust me. You don't want that. Because I'll come down here to Citizen Tech Park and I'll knock heads. All right, everybody, have a great day and a great week. Peace and love. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.